Rominger on the phone. I want Republicans to win, and they're going to win around the country in various elections. They're not going to win the next presidential election if they keep going with the orange Cheeto guy, right? You guys know I'm not really a big fan of Trump in the next election. I'm more of a Liz Cheney Republican, a conservative who believes in conservative values, not strong men. But let's talk about what's going on in the gubernatorial election here in Pennsylvania. I would like to have seen Lou Barletta. That's who I voted for in the primary. I would like to see Lou Barletta win the election, but that's not going to happen because our party, I'm a registered Republican, as you know, chose Doug Mastriano. And Doug Mastriano's got some real issues going on right now. That's why I'm saying the race for governor is over. Doug is done. He's not going to win it. He doesn't have a chance of winning it. But let's talk about it a little bit, how I get the math on that, okay? First of all, Doug has come out and said repeatedly that all abortion is murder and all abortion should be illegal. No exceptions for rape, no exceptions for incest, no exceptions for the life of the mother. He's entitled to believe that. But that's 8% of Pennsylvanians who would agree with that. Now, when you add exceptions for rape and incest and life of the mother, and those are the only exceptions for abortion, and otherwise abortion be legal, it gets up to 30% of the vote. See where we're headed with this? Any strong abortion ban that Doug would propose or sign off on, and he's again and again said that, is not going to ingratiate him to the electorate. We are a purple state. We are a purple state. We are not a red state. We're not a blue state. We have more registered Democrats in Pennsylvania. Trump barely won once and he barely lost once, right? Because the vote can split pretty evenly in this state, but you have to be in the middle. Lou Barletta could have straddled that middle. Now, Doug Mastriano says that the Republican GOP is selling him out. Was it Jenna Ellis, his lawyer, posted something on Twitter the other day to that effect. Then she quickly deleted it about the Republican Governors Association. His people have said it repeatedly, but he's still asking the establishment for help. And one of the reasons that he needs help is, check this stat out here. David versus Goliath, right? We'll just keep it biblical because Doug is keeping his campaign biblical, and we'll come back to that in a second. Shapiro has outspent Mastriano on TV, Google, and Facebook since the primary. $21.6 million Shapiro has spent to the $6,300 that Doug has spent. Now, there's been some outside spending by some other folks. Matt Barletta, Republican, has said that they're just shocked and dismayed by the campaign that Mastriano has been running. It's crazy, right? And what do I say this? Well, now he's come out and said, he's going to do 40 days of fasting and prayer. And I don't want to belittle that if that's what he believes, but that's insane. What he needs to be doing is 40 days of getting into the mainstream, building a candidacy, and he simply can't, because he would have to abandon his beliefs. He would have to abandon core things that he said, and he would be shot down as a hypocrite in the media and by Shapiro if he goes too far to the center, right? And he would alienate that core hardcore base that he has. So I don't think he can do it. But if he has any chance of pulling this off, he can't spend the next 40 days in prayer and fasting. He can spend the next 40 days on a bus running around the state begging people for votes, and he needs to start getting people to his rallies. I posted a picture on Facebook earlier showing how few people were at his rally, and somebody said, Carl, that's not fair. There were rooms full of people at other events that he was at first, and this was just part of a public event he stopped off at. Hear what you just said? The guy posted rooms full of people, okay? Remember when you guys were all making fun of Joe Biden because he had 13 people, 20 people, 27 people, 42 people at an event? Trump had 20,000. And you're like, look at Biden, he doesn't have anybody there. Well, Mastriano doesn't have anybody there. He has Joe Biden numbers, literally Joe Biden numbers. And there's no COVID going on right now. There's no need to hide in your house. And the people who would arguably be supporting Mastriano are the same people who think that COVID's imaginary government scam, right? To force you to be vaccinated with microchips on the flat earth. I mean, not literally believe that probably, but a lot of them are in that vein, conspiratorial thinkers. So they would be the least likely to be dissuaded to come out, right? Because they have no public health concern. So none of that going on. So why are they not showing up for Doug? He doesn't really excite anybody because he doesn't have anything going for him. Some of my whack pack says, never vote blue, Carl. You have to understand, like, you just have to vote for him because you can't vote blue. Okay, it's not about my vote. It's not about your vote. It's about the votes. And if you want to elect a candidate in Pennsylvania, right? If you want to, you should have elected Lou Barletta. Let me just say, I've got something instead of MAGA, I'm Murwah, making Republicans win again. Keep it fiscal stupid, okay? That's what I'm saying. Murwah, make Republicans win again. Keep it fiscal stupid. Stay out of the social issues. Stop legislating uteruses. Stop legislating religious law into the public square. Stick with the normal Republican conservative bent. Little government, libertarian choices for the people. Lower government intervention, right? Which means you got to let people do things you don't like. Let go. Relax. Run on strong conservative fiscal programs. No spending. Not all the spending that Trump did. Trump spent more money on the COVID than Joe Biden did, right? So we got to get back to credibility on fiscal conservatives. Murwah, making Republicans win again, is going to require fiscal restraint and social constraint, meaning staying out of all these culture wars that are inflaming the middle and keeping them away from Republicans. That's really what's happening. So let's talk about, if you want to win an election, right? You want to win a general election, you have to pick somebody in the primary who is palatable enough that you can bring that middle along with you. So you may have to compromise. It's this weird thing about living in a large group of people. Remember, I said this before. I would never vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I would never vote for AOC. I wouldn't vote for either one of them for $1 million, right? But a lot of people voted for one and a lot of people voted for the other. And in their particular districts, they're the cat's pajamas. Well, they represent the extremes of various districts, right? Most districts, you have to be somewhere closer to the center than those two. Not all districts. You get your Louis Gomers and your Jim Jordan, fun wrestling guys. You know what I'm talking about, Jim. You got those guys, right? But for the most part, in order to hold an elected office, you have to be closer to the middle. You have to be able to bring that center in and include everybody. So let's get there. So I understand you're upset and you guys think, you got to vote blue or never vote blue. You got to vote red, Carl. You got to vote red because, no, I don't have to vote for anybody if he's terrible. And I certainly can't vote for a guy who thinks that the life of a woman isn't worth defending if her pregnancy is problematic, who has a heartbeat bill which is causing all kinds of heartache in other areas because women aren't getting the medical treatment that they need. Okay, these are real things. And I understand if you come down on the side religiously that abortion is murder, you're going to have a certain way of believing about things. But guess what? We're not entitled to push our religion on everybody else. And so we are a nation of laws, and you don't go to jail because you broke a religious law. You go to jail because you broke a secular law written by the legislature. And we want a legislature that is inclusive enough and doesn't pick sides on religion, doesn't pick Christianity over Muslim, and we don't want Sharia law, and we don't need Christian law. We need the laws of Pennsylvania and the laws of the United States. And if they're guided by certain religious moral principles at some level, maybe they're guided by just general secularism. We have some atheists who follow this feed, and I think they would agree with me that you can be moral and don't have to be godly to be moral, right? But we can find a common ground where society can function, but we can't pass laws that only 8% support and expect people to stay in our party, right? So when you're given a choice in the primary and the guy's promising you all your extremist views you want, a little bell needs to go off in your head and say, okay, but how electable is this person in the district where I live? And I know some of you don't like that, right? You want to be able to get who you want, who makes you feel the best. Well, I'm telling you right now, Doug Mastriano, there's an article in the Inquirer here. He plans 40 days of fasting and prayer, right? They're calling about this big rally this weekend as a flop. Again, some of you are saying there was rooms full of people. I don't know what a room full of people means, but you measure rooms full of people. If you're lucky, a ballroom in the hundreds, smaller rooms in the teens and dozens, right? I went to a Tom Corbett event years ago, and we had a solid, 75 people there. I think it was a $250 ticket or something like that to get in. Was that a big event? I don't think it was a big event. It wasn't a public event. It wasn't the public's invited event. It was, you got $250 to waste and you want to hang out at a fancy nightclub with Tom Corbett, you can, right? And notice Tom Corbett was in a fancy nightclub where they serve alcohol and do other non-religious things like Level 2 on 2nd Street, kind of place where people do a lot of bumping and grinding. So, and Tom was kind of conservative, but he knew he needed to get out, right? And the business people and the other politicians, right? Our legislature, they love that place if you've ever been downtown Harrisburg. The other thing they say about Mastriano, I guess recently it came out that he gave an interview where he said the life of a woman, that there's no exceptions and that it would be murder if a woman had an abortion outside of the strictures of any law that would allow any kind of abortion. And that's actual audio of him that you can listen to. Problematic. He's not going to win. He is not going to win. New York Magazine is calling him like the worst candidate in the whole field nationwide right now. I might want to pile on, but I want to make sure I'm very clear about this because later, when this election's over, I want to work on figuring out, remember, on how to make Republicans win again. All right? So we're going to do that. We're going to make Republicans win again with Merwat. And it's simple. Keep it fiscal stupid. Get out of the social BS. All right? Quit worrying about other women's vaginas. Quit worrying about what's going on in their uterus. Quit worrying about people using contraception. Quit worrying about interracial marriage. There's some whack job today on my Facebook who said, I posted this picture of Ron DeSantis's county commissioner appointment in his Ku Klux Klan outfit. And he's like, oh, snowflake, that was taken at a party. He wasn't actually a Klan member. He was just dressing up as a Klan member. And I said, you're okay with this? And guys said, yeah, he's okay with this. He's okay with people dressing up in Klan outfits for giggles, really? Or do you really think that the KKK stuff is no big deal? I'm sure it's the kind of guy who thinks like burning a cross in somebody's yard is no big deal, right? We'll have to quiz him some more on the Facebook. I hope you guys drill down on that post with that picture and ask that cat some questions because I'd love to know what his real thoughts are on this and what kind of closet racist he is or isn't. But he's either completely clueless, right? And he completely proves the theory that older white males don't know how racist they are, or he's just a racist, or he's a complete troll who just wants to say he supports this stuff. I don't know. But I sort of captioned it like, this is what Doug wants to do. Because remember, he's in with that Gab guy, the anti-Semitic guy. That's right up that KKK vein. There are so many reasons not to vote for Doug Mastriano. I might not vote for Josh Shapiro, right? Because he's the Democrat and he's evil and he's the devil incarnate, of course. But more importantly, I'm definitely not going to vote for Doug Mastriano because he actually is the devil incarnate, right? He's selling you a poisonous ideology of hate. He is the suicide bomber from the Middle East in a Christian veil, really. That's what we're dealing with. That is how dangerous a man he is because his beliefs are just wackadoodle. And that's a legal term, okay? What else can I tell you? Anyhow, when this election's over, I want to get back to winning again. So we're going to keep it fiscal stupid. We're going to talk about that. But I got to wait for November so you guys can see what happens when you let the orange man roll in and help you pick these terrible candidates. Now, Dr. Oz may yet win. He may yet pull it out against Fetterman, mainly because of the stroke, if that's how he does it. I hope Fetterman doesn't win, right? In the sense that we need to vote in the Senate. On the other hand, I hope Fetterman wins to reinforce the lesson that unless the Republicans here in Pennsylvania and the Republicans in general get a grip on what their actual beliefs are and go back to Reagan style, Bush style conservatism, right? Maybe bring a little neocon back. And right now, Joe Biden is doing a great job in the Ukraine, right? He's providing lots of funding. He's doing lots of things. He's doing what a Bush or a Reagan would have done. So on the other hand, I can give you 1,000 things Joe Biden's doing wrong. We should probably do a whole show on the evils of Joe Biden. But I think it's more important to focus on where we as a party of Republicans have been misled and pulled away from our core values. That's tonight's show. That's all I got for you. I'll see you guys on Sunday.